All right, welcome back. So we've got Mr. Jake Epelle here with us, CEO of TAF Africa. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, Chamberlain. Happy Democracy Day. Yeah. You are laughing.
It's because he doesn't.
Smiling.
She loves democracy.
I love Democracy Day.
That's why.
Chamberlain doesn't.
But she on green?
I know.
How do I know?
But I have my Nigeria badge with me.
How many can see that? Oh, boy.
Well,
okay.
I think you're a true Democrat.
I am. Thank you. There you go.
Win elections first, and then we'll talk about that later. But the president did give his speech, so let's see how much of that we can take, for a moment and see some key parts of what the president said on his Democracy Day address. So he did highlight some of those things this morning, as you might have heard. So from the parts of that speech which you heard, what strikes out for you?
I think it's a good thing for the first time, a president identifying the contribution of heroes and heroines of democracy. That was a good thing. And mentioning names, both those who are passed on and those who are alive, is an excellent component of that speech. However, there were some very missed opportunities, Chamberlain. And maybe in the course of this analysis, I took time to look at the president's posture. What was he communicating, apart from his verbal presentation, the non-verbal posture of the president? What does he portend? And I think I'd like to talk about that. But the economic component that received what I would describe as a mere mention, I had wanted him to roll out as part of democracy some of the policies that he is thinking about. And this is me. I wouldn't be talking about minimum wage without mentioning specific figure, and I think that's one thing that I looked at. But overall, it would receive a pass mark, but I wouldn't consider it a very excellent speech for Democratic Day.
But I thought he said he was going to transmit those minimum wage matters. Remember, they have to get it and send to NAS. So doesn't that make sense?
Well, for a president, what you say carries weight. And I don't think it would be fair on the citizenry to give us half-baked information, I mean, why? And there was something that he said that I would have, if I'm a speechwriter, which I may not be, for the president, I would have taken it out. And that's the aspect of saying that the labor people came and broke bread. It was unnecessary. It was unnecessary. And it can send a very, very wrong signal, as if the labor people are coming for breakfast, But however, like I said, it's above average speech because it did not capture one aspect of democratic process that this country is yearning for, and that's electoral reforms. He acknowledged, yes, election makes for democracy and all that, but as a leader, he will not tell me that he's not aware of the fact that there are flawed areas in an electoral system, and that there's been very well-meaning, well-articulated, strategic reports on how we can reform the election that most government have not paid attention to. And I think he should have given us some, pathway to what may look like a reformed process of the election in its entirety. I mean, God bless the memory of Yar'Adua, who acknowledged that the election that brought him to power was flawed, and he was willing to take the path of making sure that he brings up electoral reforms that will correct some of those things that he pointed out were flaws that even brought him to power. And that's, to me, Kelly and Chamberlain, that's leadership. The ability of a leader to wholeheartedly admit that I have made a mistake or my system has some issues. Just like he admitted that he agreed that people are struggling and all that, the discontent of people. I don't see anything wrong in him saying, hey, I'm looking at the electoral process and I'm likely to embark on electoral reforms. And so for a Democracy Day speech, not touching on electoral reforms, not rolling out policies that can lead us to that process is a missed opportunity.
But what about his previous comments about the elections? Because don't forget, he's always said it, that, some may think, we would expect him to mention reforms if they had said, okay, the elections are not that perfect. Did you get the narrative preceding this day?
No, but
as we did with the Aratua?
Chamberlain, you know that this government has been bent on pursuing the policy of legitimacy. They don't want, it's a elephant in the room for them.
Yeah, I was asking if you were surprised.
Which any government should do, you understand? Go ahead. Yeah.
I was asking if you are surprised that the reforms you wanted him to mention was not mentioned today.
I am surprised.
Concerning how the narrative they had maintained before today.
Yeah, I am surprised. I am surprised. And you don't have to do reforms all the time to validate your democratic position. You do reforms because you want to leave a legacy.
I mean, I think in many ways he didn't want to go into it. It did feel like he didn't want to go into that conversation. Because his words were, while elections attract dramatic attention, but they are but one aspect of democracy.
Well,
and then he focuses really his speech on democracy being a way of life. But I think one of the things that, and you mentioned that earlier, was he harped a lot on those who sacrificed for our democracy.
Yes, that was very commendable, very commendable. But however, I'm not a tribalist, but I'm also had expected a broad mentioning of people that have actually contributed to the democratic development in this country. I wanted to see more of a few of the Northerners. Yes, there were a few mentions of the Southeast people and, of course, the Middle Belt and all that. But there are a lot more people that have made democratic sacrifice. You know, I would have wanted to see him quote the quotables of even Nigerian president and the American president. I mean, that there are some very vibrant quotation by the likes of Goodluck Jonathan, who says the blood of nobody.
My political
exactly.
So you're talking about the fact that how he quoted like foreign presidents
from the American president. You know.
Well, he also. Okay.
These are some of the highlights of what he said. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, he did talk about the fact that he mentioned economic reforms.
Yes, he did talk about that.
You said you expected political reforms, not just economic reforms.
Yeah, I expected political reforms.
How about the economic reforms? Was it good enough?
It was I think he did acknowledge the fact that people are struggling, are suffering because of the economic hardship. But he agreed, and on that point I agree with him that, yes, it's what we have to go through now
but he has
because
said
of
this
the future.
He said this a year ago.
Well,
he said this a year ago. He said reforms we initiated are intended to create a stronger and better foundation for future growth. I feel your pain. We know this.
Kelly,
we even turned it into memes in this country, but it still seems like a lot hasn't happened to better our lives since then.
In communication, there's a power of repetition. And I think
the repetition, love, deep and lasting impression.
Exactly.
But he's been repeating it. We want to see the outcome. We want to see the actual economic economic reform. He said this a year ago.
You know, if I'm this government, the narrative that they try to suppress or ignore is the fact that they inherited an economy that is dead and not yet buried.
Why do you think they're trying to suppress it?
Well, because they don't want to hurt the past administration.
No. I mean, I've heard the NSA say it. The Minister of Finance has referred to it. And if they wanted to suppress it, those gentlemen wouldn't speak about it, would they? Well,
it's in conversation, you can decide to delve deeper or you treat it from the surface. And I think what they're doing is treating it from the surface. They inherited an economy that is literally moribund. And if they create that narrative that, listen, we do have a problem from the economy that we inherited, but however, we're doing something to ensure that we don't go back to where we're coming from, and then we can create a pathway for a better future. That truth needs to be said, other than acknowledging that, I know we're suffering and all that, and day in, day out, you're not making any meaningful progress. And to me, that's not a better way to communicate an issue of national importance, you know.
I mean, it was an opportunity for him to address quite a number of things. He could have talked about the minimum wage. I do get your criticism of him and talking about breaking bread with labor, you know. But I think that's his way. I feel like he wrote that part. It sounds like something he would say, where he says, "Look, we didn't arrest anybody. Look, we even invited them over to come break bread." You know, so it will be his way of saying, "Look, we brought them clothes. Look, we're not." You know, I understand where he was coming from there. But there were so many things. The minimum wage could have been addressed in this particular speech. Another thing that could have been addressed is a question that Nigerians have been asking for the past few weeks about fuel subsidy.
Exactly.
Because we don't quite know if the subsidy has been removed, did it come back? It was also an opportunity for him to talk about that, clear the air on that situation.
Kelly, it's very unfortunate when government starts there is what looks like a confusion within the government. The minister says one thing, the State House says another. There is no clear-cut direction of what actually they want to do. And I think it's a matter of making sure that everybody is on the table when decisions are made. When documents are written, ensuring that it goes round so that everybody will have the same voice, you know. But it's also important because as a communicationist, I took time out to not just listen to what the president was saying, but also observe his body language. What is he trying to communicate? Because you can say one thing and you mean another by the way you present yourself, you know. So you see, first, I want to say that he looked presidential, even though the camera man didn't do him justice. You know, there was too much of panning in and out and angles that were unnecessary. However, when he was communicating as a president, I think maybe because he wants to see his script and emphasize on it, you could see him sometimes leaning forward as though I don't want to make a mistake, you know.
Well, it did feel like it's when he's trying to show you that he empathizes. He sort of leans forward when he's talking about, you know, I understand what you're going through.
I get that. But then in nonverbal communication, that carries weight. It shows one who is not prepared to attack his conversation. It also has an emotional attachment, like you said, to what he's saying. But at the same time, there is the need for proper pre-practice of speech presentation by a president, because what you say carries weight. Your command of your script and your ability to present issues in a credible manner. There's a way and manner you will present a topic or maybe a paragraph of your speech, and you communicate effectively and efficiently, you know. And so as a president of the nation, we want to see him do well in every aspect of his communication, his nonverbal communication. People needs to, his communication experts needs to work on that. You know, you don't want to see a president presenting a speech and it looks like either his voice is getting frail or he's not very articulate. I mean, he doesn't have to be extremely perfect, all right, but we need to get some things right. There's a need for whoever is taking care of his communication tools. You know, an investment in teleprompter can also help. So you find the president moving his head left, right, and that communicates a lot. There's a way you can tilt your head and you express empathy, like you said. And there's also a way you can behave when presenting a speech, and you show anger.
There was a conversation going on in the house while we were watching the speech, and the question was sitting or standing. We're tired of this sitting.
Exactly.
Sitting or standing. But
who's tired of sitting?
Well, some people around who were watching, we were watching it as a group this morning, and they were saying, why is he always sitting down when he's giving them?
Exactly.
Stand up, stand up and have that.
Exactly.
That movement, lean, and all of that. Is that too much to ask? We're so used to the lights and then sitting, fellow Nigerians.
Hardly will you find an American president addressing a nation while sitting.
Well, sometimes they do.
They do.
In times of
they
war.
do. I said hardly will you. I'm not saying they don't do it at all. But most times, even President Biden, who is a very old man, you know, you will see him stand because you need to communicate that the president is healthy. Therefore, the nation is healthy.
Do we prefer a strong economy and then political reforms to this standing or sitting?
No. But you see, all of that, because
it's a package, isn't it?
Yeah. You want to also make sure that investors, those who are watching our president, believes in the
investors
strength,
they look at the figures.
The economy. Oh yes.
You can stand all you want or lie down. The investors will look. What are the indices saying?
I agree.
If they don't do all of those and get it right.
I agree, but they also want to make sure that they trust that the president who would sign off on certain things will still be alive and strong the next day, so that another person don't take over and ruin their investment opportunities. Well, all of that.
It would have been a surprise if he just stood up and was talking. That would have been a surprise for the Nigerian people.
The aesthetics, yeah. All of those aesthetics, however they come across, but the substance. If people look to all those indices and feel, you said you were going to do this, you haven't done it. If people look at the speech and say, well, in the last democratic Democracy Day, you said certain things, what we'll see, the result is different. If they look and say, well, you say you want to build a nation where everybody's voice is heard, if there are question marks, people will always pick holes in those kind of scenarios.
I agree.
Okay, pardon me, before you go on, we need to cross to Eagle Square, where, of course, a lot of these activities will be going on right now, but including the world's largest painting, which we highlighted in our opening sequence. So we've got our correspondent, Larry Lasisi, who is there to take us through what's going on at the moment. Go ahead, Larry.
Okay, Chamberlain. Well, we're here. As I told you, the event is picking up. It started since, and on the program, it starts with arrivals, and it's been one arrival after the other in protocols We have here a lot of people gathered. We have ministers getting here. We have people, different classes of people from the society are gathered in here. And I'm sure you know the people who were gathered here for the military parade. The personnel are here ready for us. And you can see them in their colorful array. I personally love the horses. And this is one of the things I look forward to outside the quick march and the precision with which these men go about their business. But I'd like to draw your attention to what I feel is the major highlight of today's event, which I think turns this event apart. It's that structure that is there. And if you look at it with the flag proudly draping it now, you see world's largest painting portrait on canvas. That is going to be unveiled. That is one of the high points of this event. And as the event comes, all the things that will be done will gradually, I think, look forward to the unveiling of that portrait. But, you know, a lot of questions on your mind. Portrait, that large, how was it done? Who did it? What? Well, I have a few of those answers here. And I have here with me the artistic director, Okweyemi Olaore, who is going to tell us a little bit about it. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
I want to ask is this, did you do this alone?
No, it is a collaborative effort of 37 artists, coordinated by Artifacts Gallery. Myself, Okweyemi Olaore, Toyin Jinodu, Adele Oladepupo. Three of us initiated the concept, and we brought in artists all around the Federation, 37 of them, to this basic work.
What's the metric?
It's 64 by 32 feet.
So that's where you say it's the world's largest. Is that verified?
Yes. There is a painting acknowledged by the Guinness World Record as the largest painting. But this is the worst, is the new record of the world's largest painting portrait on canvas. That means a painting of an individual on canvas. That's
all right. Thank you very much. Well, you heard him there. And I tell you, I am looking forward to it. I don't know about you, Chamberlain, but I am looking forward to that picture being unveiled.
Can Larry hear us? Larry, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
How big is the painting? Because the one that it's supposed to beat was 17,000 square feet. I didn't hear from him how big the paint. What's the size of this painting?
Oh, you didn't?
No, we didn't hear that.
Let me see if I can get him back. He mentioned it. Okay, come. Let me see. Let me see if you can give us that again.
Two things.
I'm told they didn't get the measurements the way you did. The issue of how. I'm told the other one, the one you're supposed to beat, is supposed to be 67 feet.
This is 64 by 32 feet.
But you said the distinction is that it is a portrait.
This is a portrait. The difference is there is a world painting, but this is in specifics. A portrait painting, a painting of a portrait on canvas.
All right. Thank you. Kayla, I hope you got that, Kayla.
Yes.
So the distinction is not in it's in the portrait. So it's that this is the world's largest portrait on canvas. Yeah, the other painting you know about maybe, but it is not, I think from what he's saying, a portrait.
All right, thank you very much indeed, Larry. So I think next time we'll paint Kayla on that portrait so that we'll make Kayla one of the world's largest paintings on canvas as well. What? I think that will make everybody happy then. Let's bring in Ayo. Ayo already has his own painting on portrait somewhere in his house, so he won't worry about all of these things. Ayo, go ahead, please. We'll have you. Larry, thank you, by the way. Let's go to Ayo.
I'm just going to pretend like I didn't hear you saying there's a portrait of me anywhere in the world. Because from what I gathered, the journey of humanity is the largest painting on canvas as at this time. And we understand it fetches Dubai it fetched about $62 million at a Dubai charity auction, but that's not the conversation. Let me come back to you, Dr. Epelle. You know, in all of the conversation that we're having, I actually went to ChatGPT, Dr. Epelle. I copied the president's speech and I put it in ChatGPT and I said, what purpose do you think the speech was intended to serve? And it gives me 6 points of what the president's speech was intended to serve. Number 1, commemoration. Number 2, honoring the past. Number 3, reflection on democratic progress. Number 4, advocacy for unity and democracy. Number 5, economic reforms and challenges. And number 6, vision for the future. Do you agree with ChatGPT?
I do agree, you know, because some of those, some of the components of the speech, which the chat pointed out, you know, a good reflection on that speech. Every one of them, except that I didn't see more of the future vision of democracy enshrined in that speech.
Which
you know, but then go ahead.
Yeah, which leads to that next question of vision. You know, 31 years ago, June 12th, 1993, there was an election. And a good number of people believe that, okay, well, that has happened, and of course, we are where we are today. 25 years after, did we see that we would still be here 25 years into this democracy? I ask that because I'm not sure that anyone, you know, charted a vision for the nation that in the next 25 years, this is where we're going to be. And consequently, if there is no direction of where we want to go for the next 25 years, we're still going to be talking about the same thing 25 years from now. So in terms of vision charting, do you see a problem there? Do you see a gap? And do you see a need for it?
There's no doubt, Ayo, that in spite of all the challenges, we've also made some very good progress. This whole 25 years began with a very interesting but very dynamic transition, and that's transition from military rule. I took time to do some mathematics. I think we were in military rule for well over 39 years. And by 1999, we took this transition from military rule to this democracy that we have today. I think that's also one milestone, that we have had a steady democratic process from 1999 to date. Do we have a clear-cut, crystal clear vision that encapsulates the values of democracy? I would say we're struggling in that direction. We haven't been able to articulate clearly what vision of democracy that we want for our country. There's been trial and error, and that's why every now and then we keep changing our electoral laws, you know, which there's no problem with that because that's dynamic. It doesn't have to be static. However, we need to clearly define the vision of our political leadership and political entity that we have as a nation. And one of the things that I am doing, Ayo, and I pray that it comes to pass, is to see, and I'm trying to do that with your pastor, Dr. Samademi, is to see how we can entrench in the curriculum, educational curriculum, teaching in the civic education space, political leadership, where democracy, types of governance, what it takes, what it means to be a leader, and how elections can pave the way for peace in a country, and voter education. So these are some of the steps that we need to take as a nation holistically, and encapsulate that in a democratic vision for Nigeria. Right now, we are doing a bit of trial and error. And I must also say that there is one aspect of the president's speech that maybe he didn't go deeper, is the values that the civil society have brought to governance, democracy and governance in this country. I can tell you for free that what we have today, in spite of all the challenges, that civil society have played a very critical role in bringing us to where we are today, whether it is funding electoral processes and policies and frameworks and technology. We have done quite a lot. Enormous resources has gone in. Enormous effort has been employed by civil society to bring us where we are. So I want to say that to all my colleagues in the civil society space, happy Democracy Day. You've worked hard. We will continue to work.
Well, democracy, we often hear this, that the reward for good work is more work. So
it's more work.
Now, one of the reasons I asked that question about vision is because of ownership. Not once, not twice have I seen people listen to the national anthem, the current national anthem, and they refuse to get up. So it lends a bit of credence to what you said the other time about communication. When we're going to hear any initiative from government, we just hear it. Generally, people just like, okay, this is what we're going to do, and then we just get up and do it. No one really takes time to communicate, educate people, give reasons why these things need to be done. And consequently, people are like, okay, well, you can't just shove this down my throat. I'm going to take it. You want to, disrespect me, then I'm going to disrespect you as well. We lose sight of nationhood at that time simply because of the communication or a lack of it from relevant authorities.
That's right.
Where do we go from here?
That's right. Well, Ayo, one very powerful tool of communication is called television. And if you look at the word television, it's a compound word, and you can sum it as tell the vision. So guys like you and several others, when the reason why we listen to you is because when you're presenting news, you're giving us the details of that news, and you have the professional experience to communicate that news in the most effective and efficient way. And I think that is where the rubber meets the road. I think most of our leaders are not taking into cognizance the need to educate themselves on how best to communicate. And when you are communicating, you communicate facts and figures. You communicate the truth. You communicate what tomorrow, if somebody asks you, you will remember that you said it. So when communication lacks credibility, it doesn't make room for believability. People will not believe it, no matter how eloquent you are. And it's important that I underscore this, Ayo. I'm a Christian, and I like to borrow my wisdom from the scriptures. I think it's in the book of Luke. He says, God said, I will give you a mouth and a wisdom. Now, to me, that sums up the essence of communication. Mouth is the skills by which you communicate, eloquence. Wisdom is the content of that communication. And so no matter how skillful you are in communicating a content, if you don't have that content, you will just be making noise and nothing will come out of it, because the essence of communication is for you to get a favorable feedback. And so there's a need for professionals like you and several others. Maybe some of our leaders needs to leave those that are their political supporters and begin to look in the direction of professionals that can educate them, lead them, help them, fine-tune what they are communicating so that it can be efficiently received by the target audience. And so, yes, there's a need for us to define the vision of where we're going. Again, the scripture says, where there is no vision, the people will cast off restraint. And so, vision is the primary force that takes us to an expected end. Is the picture of a future. You know, if you want to, we're talking about painting. If you want to paint the future of the country, you paint it from the standpoint of a vision. And that's why you never see any true child of God that ventures to get involved in spiritual matter without first telling us that God gave me this vision. You know, so it's very important.
Okay, so as things stand now, in terms of moving forward, what you expect, not just a center democracy, the other units now, the states, how we need to ensure that those states also play their role. Because at the end of the day, the people in the states, the businesses have to be established in the states. Are we tasking them enough?
I think the subnational leaders at the subnational, the governors, have a huge responsibilities on their shoulders. Gone are the days that you just run into Abuja or stay in Abuja and you want to govern your state. Or maybe you just come into Abuja, get a handout, and go back and determine how you spend it. The values of democracy must trickle down to the subnational and the local government. So the governors have a lot of responsibility, whether it's political leadership or economic infrastructure, as the case may be. They have a lot of responsibility because they actually lead the people at the grassroots. This suffering that we're talking about, sometimes when you are in Abuja, the lights and the scenery of Abuja can actually deceive you. But go outside to the satellite town, then you see suffering spelled in capital letters.
Why do you think the states, though, have not been able to pull their weight when it comes to development, the economy, and ensuring things thrive in those states?
Sometimes lack of political will. They just don't want to do it. Or they feel that, well, all I need to do is conserve funds in readiness for my re-election. You know, or keep trying to please your political stooges, those around you.
Well, what about we the people? Is it because we allow those things happen? It means we need to do much more than
practically, practically so. There's a need for voices that have been silent and those who have silenced themselves to speak out. I mean, I want to sit back and look at what my governor, Siminalai, is doing in my state. And if it's not doing well, I will be very bold to speak to him to his face.
Now,
that, just like
you may be able to do that. What about several other people who appear to be economically emasculated? Can they get their voices heard?
You don't need economy. The Chamberlain, your station invites me here. You have never asked me for a dime. The thing is, I'm ready to stick out my neck, to speak some truth to power, and don't care what happens to me. I'm not afraid of being arrested or going to jail or even for the right reasons. But the truth is that when good people keep quiet, evil will thrive. And so there's a need for voices to be heard, to not just speak. I will not try to be a protectionist of what my state is doing just because the governor comes from my place. In fact, the fact that he comes from my place, the onus is on me to tell him the truth. You know, just like I'm pushing right now for him to invest in the teeming youths in River State.
I think for many people who may not feel like they can speak up or demand accountability, for them it may not even just be the fact that they're not economically empowered. It might just be, look, what change has come from it? Yeah. Jake Epelle has been speaking. What happened?
No, something is happening.
What would happen with my own voice? You
see, that's the thing. Something is happening, Kayla. You know, the thing is, we judge outcomes by immediate results. When I started, tomorrow is International Albinism Day. You're my friend. You are my friend.
Don't judge outcome by immediate results.
Put out a tweet.
Don't judge outcome by immediate results.
Exactly. Yeah, so, but the point I'm trying to make is, you know, little effort can yield huge return. You understand? When we started albinism, thank God for the encouragement of the likes of John, you know, and all that, the chairman of channels, if I didn't stick to my gun, we wouldn't be where we are today. You know, have we made progress? Yes, we have. As a matter of fact, today, BBC is deploying their entire camera in my office to capture some of the things we've done. So if we are not making progress, we won't get global attention that we're getting. But I can guarantee you that a lot more needs to be done. There are more younger people who are younger than me, who are more vibrant, who are more brilliant, that needs to get into the space, and I'm encouraging everyone to get involved. Well, we need to speak out, you know, and stand for what is right, no matter what it will cost you. It has cost me, people like me, many things. You know, somebody said to me, the way you're pursuing Wike, he will bulldoze your house. I don't have a house in Abuja.
Well, I understand that your is not done with some questions for you. But in order to also speak to some of those, because we hear that time and again, people say, well, I've done my bit, nothing is happening. Societies are not built like that.
Exactly.
You can't sit on your hands. So what do? You don't feed anymore, you give up. No, that's not how life is.
No,
you have to keep going.
Do you know the impact of what you guys sit here every day to do? Do you know the impact? We watch you at home. We get encouraged.
Because, I mean, thanks for that. Politicians don't give up.
Yeah,
they come in for year after year after year. Ones. And then the people who say they're downtrodden say they're giving up. So look at the two. Just imagine.
Let me give you a
how
scenario.
That works.
We all say there's no money, right? No money, right? Take a drive around Abuja and see the massive infrastructure.
Even in Lagos.
Houses.
Different parts of the country.
Individual houses.
And people say...
And the speed with which they build it. Somebody, I don't want to mention them, is building behind my office in record time. 6 months. Its 17-story building is up. I was told that he paid cash for the builders.
It's sold as well.
Exactly.
All the buildings are sold as well, so people are buying.
Exactly.
So people better wake up wherever they are. Wake up and smell the coffee. Ayo.
Oh, let me make this, maybe annoy you a little further, guys. It was on Saturday, Chamberlain, you are aware, I hosted Alibaba. And we were having this conversation around, you know, the creative industry, him being an industry leader. And he told me something very jarring, that as at the time Mr. Fashola was governor of Lagos State, the value chain of the creative industry in Nigeria was worth about 16 billion naira every weekend. I asked him further, what would it be worth now? He said something in the region of 20 to 25 billion every weekend. Multiplied by that by 52. And then you have an idea of what happens, and that is just in Lagos alone. If we try to cascade that down through the nation, of course, every state has different capacities. We know what can come out of that. So yes, there's some value in this country. But it is the problem of ownership, Dr. Epelle. It is the problem of collaboration. Young people literally make up the creative industry. Young people literally make up the fintech industry. Now, there are those who are counting their losses from 31 years ago. they are still pained by the things that they had to go through. Some went to jail, some lost infrastructure, some lost property, and a good number of them have not really recovered. I read, I think it was 1 or 2 days ago, that the Parkin Kumi who designed the Nigerian flag, I understand, I hope it is not true, that the man has not been buried for some reason. So that's some Nigerian hero. And there are those who are saying, okay, they are the labors of our heroes past. Aren't these in vain already? So 31 years of June 12, 25 years of democracy. What are we telling the young ones about the future of our nation? Because what they can see is what they hear.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ayo, I'm going to sound a bit motivational. Listen, everyone watching, especially the young ones. Number one, I stand here to say that, yes, our generation have failed you in certain things. There's no doubt about that. But that does not mean you can't forge a future for yourself. One of the greatest thing anyone can do to stall your progress is wrapped up in 2 words, or 1 word: giving up. When you give up, they say you can't go up. There's a need for you to stay focused. Every successful person was once a failure. I have failed in many things to get to where I am. Have I been successful? Absolutely, to some extent. But success is never ending. So if you're a young person, you have failed, what happened to you is that you failed forward. Get up and try again. Do the best you can, but make sure that the best that you're doing is what your Creator, God, will have you do. In the midst of these economic downturns, I've employed more people. I've increased salary, because I want a team that will be productive in whatever I am doing. And so don't take everything that everybody is saying, oh, things are hard. Yes, you know that. Great leaders are produced in the midst of crisis. Great, successful people have made wealth in the midst of famine. So don't ever, ever give up. The best speech that I ever heard was by Winston Churchill when he came in Oxford just before the breakout of the Second World War. And he made a great speech. 2 words: don't give up. Don't give up. 3 words: don't give up. So don't. Ensure that you work collaboratively, work as a team. They define team as together everyone achieve more. I work with a team of people. When people see me, oh, you're doing that, I laugh, and I'm always open to give credit to those who are helping me push me forward. I give credit to channels. Most of my advocacy, you have brought it to limelight. I give credit to the likes of John and Chamberlain and Ayo and everyone. My dear good friend, that her hair looks like something that should be painted. So there's a need for young people out there to not give up. But also, it's important for you to build on your character. Character is everything. Character is who you are in the dark. Character can make or mar you. Focus on your character. I pay less attention to reputation. I pay more attention to character, because once I get my character fixed, it will fix my reputation. Ayo, this is what we need to do. Venture out, young people, venture out, do something for yourself. You don't ever buy this crap that you can be rich by doing Yahoo or trying to cheat people. You can't. those things will fly away through the window as they come through the door.
But,
so venture out, do what you...
Dr. Epelle, I appreciate, all that you have said, and yes, you said it right. It is motivational. But there's an issue Chamberlain raised with you earlier about state governments. The young people see these things. We can't hoodwink them anymore. Gone are those days when governments did stuff and no one knew about it. I can't count the number of videos I have seen on social media that identify the number of vehicles on the convoy of any governor or any minister or any president of the Senate. Everybody wants to, what's the word they use now? Blow, not glow. Everybody wants to make it. Everybody just wants to get up there. But they would also come up and say the motivation to do these things aren't there. Dr. Epelle, you grew up in a generation where patience was a virtue. Today, would you say it is still a virtue that young people are able to embrace or are even taught? We're celebrating democracy, but many of them even go down our thread when we're talking about this conversation right now. Many people, while the president was speaking, believe that there is nothing to celebrate.
Well, let me redefine patience. Patience is not just waiting. Patience is refusing to take the alternative, but sticking to what you're waiting for. Again, you find the Bible saying that Abraham hoped against hope. It was so bad, there was nothing to hang on to, but he kept on staying focused. There's a need for young people, take your eyes off the material things that you see, that you don't even know how these individuals in this Prado and the rest of vehicles, how they got it, And that's why, for me, in my organization, I was given a vehicle by one of our development partners, and I put their logo there, and they drove it into our apartment, and my son jumped and said, "Oh, Daddy, you bought a new car." And I said to him, "No, I didn't buy a new car. That's not my car." Because one day, when we are done with the project, they will take it back. And so if you present it the way it is, people will take you. And like I always say, it's important to capture these things. I say to people, especially married individuals like us, let people around you know what you have so that they don't give you bills you can't pay. And that applies to us as husband. When your wife knows what you have, she will not give you the bills you can't pay. But when you pretend to hide everything and pretend that all is well, then you get bills that you cannot pay. So young people, don't be deceived by the vehicles you're seeing. Do you also know what those guys go through? Sometimes I know a governor that his best time of work is from 12 to 3 p.m., and all day he will be also doing the work. But what I'm saying is that we need to make these political offices less attractive in terms of materialism, so that the people that are coming into it will know that they are coming to serve. They are coming to serve and not to be served. And Jesus painted it well. He says, "I came to minister and not to be ministered to." So there's a need for this youth and this generation, their attention to be driven to the value of service, selfless service. I run an organization. We're not doing badly, but people are surprised that I don't have the things that they expect me to have. You understand? But it doesn't really bother me. What I want to do is to serve the community and serve this nation. And so service delivery, quality service delivery, we need to turn the attention of our youth and also to do everything possible to work on their identity this issue of mistaken identity or borrowed identity is destroying the fabric of our youths. You don't have to be like Jake to be accepted. You know, you don't have to be like, or you hear John Momo, you want to be John Momo overnight. It has taken this man years to build this institution called Channel. Anything you achieve overnight will die over time. Success is hard work. And I've often said, Ayo, that the only place you find success before work is in your dictionary. You know, success requires that you work hard to get to where you are. Everyone that you're celebrating today, they walk off their tail. And that's why they are where they are today.
Okay, so just this one last one from me. Now, it's 25 years of unbroken democracy in Nigeria in this Fourth Republic, first time ever. If you had a crystal ball, Dr. Epelle, and you could look forward to another 25 years from now. We didn't see this 25 years ago. If you could look forward 25 years from now, what do you see? And what must we do to get to that vision that you probably see in that crystal ball right now?
Of your question, but I think I got the gist. The truth about it is I'm very optimistic and upbeat. You know, I saw a bit of where I am today. I'm not ashamed to tell you about a bit of my background. I came from the poor of the poorest. I'm an example of how God has taken you from the guttermost to the utmost, you know, so I know what it means. I want to say that I've never said this on television, but I'm saying it to encourage someone. You know, if you know Port Harcourt, I used to live in Burukri Waterside. We will see stream, you know, with feces passing through the house where I was. Yes, you know, and so if I am where I am today, and to be honest with you, I am privileged, you know, that the point that in February I spoke in the same audience that with American president was. And that's a man that was told you will never amount to anything. I was told, you know. So what I'm saying is we need to be very optimistic. We need to be very upbeat. We need to believe in ourselves, believe in this country. I turned down American green card because I believe in this country. Given the opportunity today, I will still turn it down. You know, and so there's a need for us to believe in ourselves, in this country. Take your eyes off what is happening. I'm not saying live in denial, you understand? You know, I believe that there will be an emergence of new leaders, new crop of very character-centered leaders that will take us to the promised land. This generation, as are today, will play their part, but they will, at the end of the day, create a future that is deserved of us. But we need to do something, and that is do what we can, where we are, you know, going to where we want to be. There is hope for this country, and my definition of hope is helping other people excel.
I mean, Mr. Epelle, it's very instructive that you brought up the issue of young people right now. Mm-hmm. As we're celebrating Democracy Day, and we're hearing, I'm sure many people were wondering most of the names that the president was calling out in his speech today, people who have sacrificed for the democracy that we enjoy today. But we have seen something happen in West Africa, in all of Africa really, where we're seeing people deciding to move away from democratic principles. Many young people not even understanding the benefits of this democracy. The older people tell them you're taking your freedoms for granted, but they're like, what's freedom if I can't feed? What's freedom if I don't have good governance? What do you say to those young people right now on a day like this?
I started reorganizing my organization a couple of 3 years ago, and I made up my mind that I wasn't going to employ anybody less than 35 down. So I have 25, 28. Managing them can be a problem, you know. However, that's because I believe in the future of this country. I believe in the future of the youths. I believe in their capacity and integrity. The fact that we are struggling now does not mean we will struggle going forward. And so there's a need for anyone that wants to make the most of this moment to, first of all, define your God-given vision. One of the things that I said to myself after I've done many things, I was in business, I pushed truck, I carried cattle on my head, and got to a point where, in tears, I asked God one question: what is it that you created me for? What do you want me to do? And He said to me, go and help people like you. That's what brought me into the space I am. And that's the vision that keeps me going. So you need a vision, or let me spread it with what I use in teaching organizational management. Number one, you need a structure. A structure is the foundation of organization, is the foundation of individual. It is the basic things you need. The very first gift that God gave to us, the entire creation, was structure. He created the earth. He created the sky. He created the sea. These are the three elements that is housing the entire creation. Structure is important, and that's why the issue of restructuring, we must keep talking about it until we get it. Number two is systems. If you don't build the right systems, which are processes, the things that runs the organization in your absence. I took a leave last year, and I said to my colleagues in the office, I don't call them staff, don't call me. For 3 weeks, nobody called me. And the reason is not far-fetched. I wanted to test run the systems that we have, And so systems are very important. Without systems, the structure will collapse. The third is you need synergy. People. The success of a nation, the success of an organization is people. The success of Channel. I know the kind of investment that Mr. Momo makes in all of you. And some of the things he does here that others have not learned to borrow a leaf from. You have worked, Chamberlain, you've been here for almost 20 years. If the system is not right, you will not be here. You would have gone. Why? You're here because the system created a future for you. And so you can see your future. You don't want to go elsewhere, So synergy is important. Collaboration, teaming up with people. The law of merger was first written by a man called Solomon in the Bible. And he says, two are better than one. For when they come together, they do what? They make profit. So people, great asset. The other one, Keller, is strategy. You need ideas to run as a youth. And I'm being this very motivational, intentionally, because we're talking to youth, intellectually driven. So you need to be strategic. You need ideas. Your ideas must be foolproof. A strategy does not necessarily teach you how to do things all the time. It teaches you how not to go the route you want to go because it will lead you to failure. So you need strategy. You need service delivery. You need sustainability. I've just employed someone who is understudying me. Peradventure, in the next 3 years, I'm gone. Because I've learned that people that started thriving organization that refuse to give up the leadership of that organization dies. And so...
Shouldn't learn a lot of merger. That principle.
Yeah, and then of course, the issue of servanthood. You're not... I don't own TAF Africa. TAF Africa owns me. All right, Mr. Epelle. So this ownership mentality kills us as a nation.
I want to thank you for coming on, Mr. Jacob Epelle, CEO TAF Africa. Well, Sunrise Day will return in just a moment. We'll shift our attention to another matter entirely, so stay on with us.